Evening, guys, and to my fellow Snyder fans. You're probably wondering why I'm in the closet recording this next video. Well, I'm sure if you all know how walls work and how loud sound can be, you know what that means when you're in a room with more confined spaces, wall layer to layer. Anyway, this week, James Gunn has reportedly released the first full image of his Superman, David Cornsweet, wearing the Superman suit. Well, and wow, man, it looks like he took it. It looks like it looked like they bought it from NASCAR. Man, does that look baggy and low quality. It's like cosplay that they bought from NASCAR. It's like they bought it from NASCAR and took it and had originally planned it. It looks like they took the suit. It looks like the suit that David Cornsweet is wearing in that promo image that they somehow bought a NASCAR suit from a NASCAR store and took ideas from a local cosplay person and somehow meshed it all together. That along with inspirations of Kingdom Come and New 52. God. Man, it doesn't look like it fits him well. I mean, is it really... I like to know where they were getting the resources to their costumes and preps from at this stage. Did they really get it from the same company that provides Marvel with all the clothing and stuff on it? Did they get it from the CW Studios people that worked on their Arrowverse? Or did they buy it from NASCAR? That's what I would also like to know. As for what is in the background that he is up against, I can't even tell if it's actually Solaris, Warworld under Mongol, the Star Sapphire representative entity called the Predator, or if it's actually Brainiac, which I kind of doubt because I don't seem to recall him firing lasers from his tentacles or firing lasers that big up in the distance. And yeah, what we could also be seeing in the background could be Guy Gardner, played by Nathan Fillion as well. Or it's all just part of deceptive marketing campaign with the use of AI. I mean, I watched one of Snarky J's videos on the movie Civil War, and that what was shown and distributed in the AI promo art that was used to promote that film, it didn't actually turn up in the film, like it was cut out or something, or that they just didn't really film or even bother to present scenes from Florida at all. And I gotta take her word for it quite seriously too. Deceptive marketing has gotten worse, especially when you're dealing with companies like BlackRock and Vanguard who are led by that are so totalitarian in trillions in assets. That, along with the ego of the individuals who run these investment firms, running the companies like Warner Brothers and Disney, having so much massive ego and pride that it's blinding them from seeing the truth of what we really want, all because they're not only focused on agenda and stuff, but all because they have too much ego compiled up by all the trillions that they've invested in their assets. And believe me, but what really annoys me also even more, other than the possibility of being baited again by the number one most corrupt studio in the entire entertainment industry, is the fact you've got these people. It's got history repeating itself like we see in politics, kind of like what I've seen between the parallels of one of the Clinton and Trump impeachments. Yeah, where you had where one of the Republicans who was interviewed during the time was calling out Bill Clinton, calling him out for abusing his power or for his misdemeanors, and then defending Trump, which obviously, who would even care? Now we're seeing this kind of algorithm dwelling into the movie system, mainly that of Warner Brothers, which is even way worse than Disney. And I'm sorry, Chris Gord. I know how much you love Star Wars and all, just as much as I do, and how frustrating it is for them to not treat the lore and the characters with as much respect as other owners. But really, Warner Brothers is definitely the most corrupt, because not only are they still refusing to give us a live-action Superman movie with Brainiac in it, but also they're being more disrespectful to their brands. Not just to Superman and everything DC related, but also to Scooby-Doo. And, of course, the Looney Tunes. I mean, didn't you just see what is in that Velma series where they said they canceled it, but they actually did not, and released season 2 on us anyway? Come on, Chris. You guys. And as for Culture Casino, wake up. If you like to see a live-action Superman versus Brainiac, then why don't you wake the F up from your fucking ego and help us call out Warner Brothers, for God's sake. Stop being a fucking dumb retard. And pardon my language, I'm sorry. But it's really frustrating that we are living in the same kind of scenario as black people in the South have been living in during the Jim Crow era. God, politics, ego, narcissism, and fucking elitist pride. Same thing you keep seeing in politics that you're seeing here now. It's a fucking sickness that has got to cut it out. These totalitarian oligarchs who have way too much sway over the movie industry are making them constantly reuse, rehash, and recycle the same crap over and over again. It's gotta stop. Heck. I do. And it's a good reason to why I do support the Snyderverse movement. Even though my interest seems to be declining a bit, but I still do support it. The movement to restore the Snyderverse and sell it to Netflix, but we gotta make sure it's all done in live action format for all the, especially Man of Steel 2, because we want Brainiac to fight Superman in live action, and we want both characters to be done. We want both characters done comic accurately. For Supergirl, we want her in there too, even if she has to be replaced by Sasha Kai, because really, Warner Brothers screwed her just as much as they screwed Cavill, Dwayne Johnson, and Ben Affleck. And to those who are refusing to call out Warner Brothers for their own decision to rip us off with retcons, rehashes, and more recycled stuff, go to hell. Go to hell, you dumb, selfish, evil, twisted, ego-driven, bald-head Tom Connors. Go to hell, Nate from Mr. H, for not giving a damn about Brainiac, all because you have consumed too much of Marvel's ideal to give a damn. And to go to hell to those who have been following Boba Talks, not giving a damn about Brainiac because of how mentally deranged you are, for not giving a dingle damn, like you can't seem to understand that enough is enough. And to those out there who are really, really, really looking to keep on defending the studios, on giving us the same crap we've already been getting in live action movies, go to hell. Including those who are... Now, I know that injecting woke elements and ideology is annoying, and it's irritating, and it even just as... And it ruins, and it makes these brands we love less interesting and less trustworthy as they usually do before. But come on. Have you even seen what to Chris Gore, Alan Ang, Tom Connors, and to every one of you guys who are really against woke ideological shift, wake the fuck up. Call out Zaslav, you lazy, arrogant, wannabe shown bees. If you really are fighting to help make a cause, stop defending the most corrupt studio in Hollywood, which is Warner Brothers. It's been like this since 1980, when they fired Richard Donner for not willing to cut out 30 minutes of screen time from the movie, which has really what caused the film to have a sharp decline at the box office. And it's because of that, along with their lack of patience and their lack of creative freedom, they rejected Brainiac and ripped us off with the same fucking garbage we got out of Superman 3. And that's what really destroyed the whole thing, along with Superman 4, of recycling characters and making up shit that was never from the comics, that made it a fucking waste of time. It destroyed it. Burton and Schumacher's Batman films were not as bad as those from Christopher Reeve's third and fourth films, because they not only included villains who were popular from the source material, but they had more respect for them. The only reason they ended up flopping is because they went too far, injecting so much humor into the fourth film, and they rushed its release instead of doing it in 98 when they had more time. God. Not to mention the fact that that the only reason they couldn't get Brainiac into a live-action Superman movie, even if they tried, is not only because they refused to use him in Superman 3 and have Supergirl in it too, introduced to Superman, but also because they were making it difficult, not keeping the film close to the source material. So if you guys cared about independent filmmaking, stop defending WB. It is the most corrupt studio in Hollywood. Now, I'm going to wait to upload this, because I do not want to be banned. Not just from YouTube, but I don't want to get shadow banned either. I do have other YouTubers who agree with me on this situation, that the main number one problem with Warner Brothers is the studio's refusal to give us a live-action Superman movie with villains that we haven't seen in live-action movies yet. Brainiac is the number one example of them. And these fucking arrogant rich people, not just at the studios, but their shareholders who control them, are assholes. Pardon my language again. Just that right now in this period, we are forced to allow the same kind of parallel mentality we've seen coming out of our government in Washington, D.C., transpire here in Hollywood. And that's why I see Warner Brothers to be the most corrupt. Mainly because you've got these people who are choosing to act like one side of the aisle, not give a damn about Brainiac by putting their own fucking opinions about him first before what the problem is, like they've been bought out. I may not trust Zack on everything, but the reason I trust him is because Man of Steel 2013 really captured me. It was really compelling. And it had potential to move on. Sure, it may not have much humor and it may be dark, but come on! Oh, this fucking meddling of not giving us a live-action Superman versus Brainiac movie is what the fucking problem is with Warner Brothers, that people should be calling out the studio for. Yes, I know. Which is why, sure, merit may not matter at this point, but I still recommend you buy the comics I've been showing you guys in my previous videos. Because, not just because there are a lot of other major villains that need to have the same equal live-action movie representation as Lex Luthor is Zod, as well as Doomsday and others, along with the heroes Superman and Supergirl, as well as seeing a live-action movie with Superman and Supergirl teaming up for the first time. But also more of why they need to be fleshed out and not have plot and not rely on rehashing story plots from movies or television shows. And you don't need to go too far to race swap the characters either, especially Superman. And it's not just because people love him for how he was done. It's mainly because you refuse to give us a live-action movie of him and Brainiac taking each other on. All because of you guys are being so mentally deranged out there at the studios, going too far with your goddamn policies, fixating too much on children, when, of course, when I was with my younger brother, Ryan, with my half-brother Ryan at the movie 8 years ago, seeing Dawn of Justice, I didn't mind letting him watch some of the cool stuff happen. The only part I felt like the need to cover his eyes was when Doomsday impaled Superman, which I feel was the most inappropriate. Now that I understand, but the rest of the movie was awesome. The movie was awesome. Some children can deal with it. Well, while I know others can't. But speaking of Brainiac, because of all the talk I've been hearing about neuralink chips going around and how it could pose a problem to some that would have, and how some of them could have a problem with Brainiac, that is why I floated the idea of having Brainiac wear a metallic cowboy hat on his head to cover up his plug so that it wouldn't pose such a problem to folks who have these neural chips. Because I am tired of all the goddamn censorship that's been coming out of Warner Brothers lately. That's been going on over the past 40 years. And my God, here we are put in a situation where one side that's been hating on Cavill will take on the character since 2013, coming in and liking something that was not wanted or expected on our behalf. And now we, along with me, myself, and other Snyder fans, have to keep putting up, have to be forced to go through this fucking repeat of parallels. My God, I hate this. It's a curse. It's why our country is so goddamn totalitarian. All because these shareholders, BlackRock and Vanguard, have way too much fucking control over our lives right now. And along with the help of some of our government agencies, which I am not going to bother naming for the sake of my life, as well as protecting my videos from being deleted. Because really, I'm not in the mood to draw too much attention to my own channel, like to risk getting banned, because a lot of people out there do need to hear me out. We need to get rid of this fucking algorithm that is that's put Warner Brothers in the same, into constantly repeating, rehashing, and recycling shit. That's why it's the main threat to entertainment right now. Even if Disney is, by putting in so much politics in, as well as over these DEI and ESG initiatives. Well, guess what? It's happening at Warner Brothers. So wake the fuck up, Chris Gore. Wake the fuck up, Alan Nang. Wake the hell up from your fucking goddamn ego, Tom Connors. And for God's sake, Nate, stop being so selfish. Help us hold the studio accountable for its meddling. Just like me and others are, and it doesn't matter if we're fans or not. It's been going on for 40 goddamn years, since 1980 and 1983. I'm sorry, but now you know why I'm in here in the closet, keeping my voice down so I don't bother the neighbors. And I wouldn't be if I hadn't felt and I wouldn't have had to do this video if I hadn't felt this urge. Trust me. Some might think I'm crazy, but I've seen others like Heels v. Babyface go on a rant on his channel, complaining about some of the woke ideology in it. Well, maybe it won't be a problem if there wasn't so much fucking ESG. Pardon. If there wasn't so much fucking ESG money going into these studios, DEI may not be that big a freaking problem. The race swapping wouldn't be such a goddamn problem. Which is why we gotta put an end to this fucking algorithm of these goddamn tendencies of repeating everything else. That's the main issue with Hollywood. The fucking repeat algorithms. The fucking rehashes. The fucking recyclings. And all the fucking retconning. It has got to fucking stop! Sheesh, I can't. I want to get. This is why I also call for the boycott of Apple, the boycott of Microsoft, and for more unions to organize at Amazon before we have to start boycotting them too. If we are to bring the two rival woke institutional investment firms' trillion-dollar grip on our movie industry down. That is, of course, well, the only problem is people are being too lazy and ignorant to give a damn. Because they have too much because other than what else they got to do outside of the internet sphere right now, it's that they can't seem to grow a pair. Take a sacrifice. That's what really frickin' annoys me. They always think about themselves in deep down. Sure, some people I do like hanging out with and trust on the internet may not agree with me 100% on everything on what we should do, but hey, at least we got more and plenty common ground and plenty on discourse at every level. Yeah. And if you ask me, Chris Gore, Alan Egg, when you guys responded to my comment, if you equate Warner Brothers' refusal to give us a live-action Superman vs. Brainiac movie to them and the rest of the corporate culture's assault on the First Amendment and their assault on creativity, then start acting like it, for God's sakes, please. I don't approve of corn sweatsuit, because really, it definitely looks cheap. It's still baggy, and it's like they've been rushing everything just to get shit done. And man, Tyrone Magnus, I'd never even seen him do certain Q&As for almost a year since the Flash movie ended up being such a CGI sludge fest. Yeah. Ego-driven shareholders are the main problem. BlackRock and Vanguard are the main problem. And really, algorithms suck. Where you gotta start copying ideas. That's why I like to get rid of these two. These two fucking meddling oligarchy companies. They need to be shut down, boycotted, and dethroned. Not just from our economy, but mainly from making people, giving us the same crap over and over again. So fucking annoying. fuck your goddamn ego, Larry Fink, and fuck your goddamn ego, Mortimer Buckley, and whoever you got in mind for a successor. You guys are, and your regimes are the problem with entertainment. Not just for putting so much wokeness into things, but for wasting every time by making the studios rehash, repeat, and recycle shit over and over again, just as we've seen other shareholders before you do to Warner Brothers. So if you guys feel where I'm getting at, be sure to leave your comments down below. Because really, we have got to put a goddamn stop to these goddamn algorithms. Be sure to subscribe, and be sure to check out my videos at my channel. Subscribe to the Avengers Rising here on YouTube. And if you like my rant, be sure to subscribe and check out more of what I got on my channel regarding the Snyderverse, regarding DC, regarding what we want for live-action Superman movies, and what we have really had enough of, if it really means taking our first step. We have got, really, we shouldn't even have two shareholders getting in our way. We are not going to want to keep putting up with these two totalitarian trillionaire institutional investors constantly ripping us off with the same crap over and over again, doing at Warner Brothers just as they are doing at Disney under its current regime. Well, hashtag restore the Snyderverse in live action. Hashtag make Man of Steel 2 with Brainiac in live action. Hashtag make Man of Steel 2 with Superman and Supergirl, Brainiac and Silver Banshee in live action. Hashtag bring back Henry and Sasha. Hashtag sell Snyderverse to Netflix in live action. Hashtag stop repeating history. Hashtag stop rehashing. Hashtag stop recycling characters from previous movies. Hashtag stop retconning. Believe me, it is not it's not really competition at all when you've got studios being told by shareholders to keep recycling and rehashing the same thing just for their own fun of competing with one another. That's what's wrong. So we gotta put a stop to it soon. We have got to stop these two investors from going too far, making WB and other studios keep rehashing and recycling shit for their own sake of competing with one another. That's why we gotta shut them down, even if we have to embrace this, what they've got in store for us for their fourth industrial revolution coming up. Till then, keep fighting, my fellow Snyder fans. Keep fighting for our rights of having a live-action Superman versus Brainiac movie made with either Man of Steel 2 or something that would be worth watching in live action with the two going head-to-head with each other. Because we've had enough with all these goddamn roadblocks. We will not have these powers that be continue to put ego before our interests. Take care. Avengers Rising out. Oh, and by the way, if you guys out there in Hollywood, running Hollywood right now, still feel the need for controversy, but in case you get my message on what we want for a live-action Superman movie, which involves Brainiac and there's like Silver Banshee in it, how about making sure we have other villains like Metallo, Cyborg Superman, and the Eradicator in as well, as Lex Luthor playing a sort of bad to neutral, back to bad kind of role, where he sides with Brainiac first, but then temporarily turns against him to help save the planet, and then goes back to being bad by recruiting Metallo at the end. But only make sure that more of Lex himself, along with Brainiac and Silver Banshee, have more of their backstories fleshed out in the movie, while Metallo, Cyborg, Superman, and Eradicators flesh out flashback stories are limited on theatrical run, but will be more fleshed out in the extended cut if we ever do get the restored Man of Steel 2 first. And please, do not fucking rip us off with the same villains we've been getting in previous live-action Superman films. We've had enough. We want to move on from Richard Donner's legacy, and we don't want to keep seeing any more of General Zod. We don't want to keep seeing any more of Fiora. We don't want to keep seeing any more of Otis and Eve Teschmacher, which are becoming too overrated. And we don't want you to keep ignoring these other villains from Superman's Rogues Gallery in the comics and ripping us off with more made-up garbage. So please, give us Brainiac as a villain for Superman to fight in live action. And please, make sure you include Supergirl in it, along with Silver Banshee in it too. We could start out with those, make sure that those 4 characters are in the live-action Superman film. But at the same time, we make sure that this needs of copying and repeating algorithms is put on leash. So that, and given a break, for God's sakes. Which is why we need to get rid of BlackRock and Vanguard, if they don't cooperate. Trust me, it is painful to have to put up and being forced for history to repeat itself, all because of how stubborn those with so much wealth and power at the top really are at keeping everything rigged against us. It has got to stop. Maybe not with their control over everything, but with them putting what they feel like doing on behalf of their own fucking pride and ego first, before our needs. We want Brainiac, guys. We want a live-action Superman movie with Brainiac in it. And we want both characters to be done comic accurately. And we want Supergirl and Silver Banshee in it too, because we have really got to get these a-holes at the studios to start making up for lost time if we do find some way to get them to cut it out with the rehashes and the recyclings and start including what we want to see in these live-action movies. Mainly that of Superman. Besides, if you want to make sure it has humor in it, go ahead, but don't make it forced in there like Gunn has done with some of his movies. Keep it balanced. And you don't need to make it dark either if that's what bothers you. And hell, if you can at least stop moving away from the mainstream of the comics and just go with the same strategy Christopher Nolan did for his Dark Knight Rises movie by using some elements from the comics on getting certain storylines in these characters to work in live action. You should really look at some of the Brainiac comics where Brainiac's got all these worlds strapped inside these bottles inside his ship. And I'm sure if you guys would give him a chance, for God's sakes, in a live-action Superman movie and not keep rejecting and ignoring him out of your goddamn fucking ego and pride, I'm sure there are ways you can include some of what you want to include into those bottled cities. If it is as well, and if you can also allow these studios to use elements from previous comics to help incorporate Silver Banshee, and of course use the Dawn of Justice version of her getting her powers from the Phantom Zone to make her work in the film and not have to censor her constantly over some of her previous iterations' religious backgrounds, but to go with the Phantom Zone version and iteration of this character that was introduced last year, I'm sure we can find some common ground. Anyway, if we do get a live-action movie that includes Superman, Brainiac, Supergirl, and Silver Banshee in it, along with Lois Lane. Make sure you have Wes Bentley, Dave Bautista, Sasha Calle, Anne Hathaway, and Rosa Salazar cast. And if they got to do something to make sure that Warner Brothers doesn't have so many fucking double standards where they go miscasting people and ripping us off with more garbage or with people who are not who we wanted or are for these roles, well, they may have to take the FDR out along with the directors, the producers, and the writers we would want for this movie to happen. So take care, guys. One last thing. Larry Fink of BlackRock and Mortimer Buckley and everyone else at Vanguard, understand this. If you ever get this live action Black Clark Kent of a civil rights Superman movie released as part of Elseworlds, do me a favor. Do not let your fucking arrogant totalitarian ego compel you into doing another Black Clark Kent of a Superman movie. If you want another Black Superman movie after that, do Val Zod. Please! Stop pissing people off and agitating them with your fucking ego. You don't need to go too far with your fucking controversial urges. Pardon me, guys. It irritates me that we gotta put up with their all this fucking political ego coming out of these elites who run Hollywood. Anyway, which is why, if instead of doing another Black Clark Kent of a super movie after this civil rights movie gets done and released, if it does, we pressure these assholes to refrain themselves from doing another Black Clark Kent movie and do a Val Zod Superman movie instead. Because we want Clark Kent to stay white when the time for a live-action Superman versus Brainiac movie comes. Because we, by now as DC fans, will have had enough of their fucking trickery and their fucking mischief. And their fucking blasphemy of arrogance. You heard me. They need to... And speaking of which, they are that rather than doing another Black Clark Kent Superman movie, they are to let Man of Steel 2 be its own separate thing, with Wes Bentley at the helm to play Superman in live action, taking on Dave Bautista's Brainiac, with Sasha Calle, Supergirl at his side, taking him and others like Silver Banshee, played by Anne Hathaway, on. And they are to instead revive the Val Zod project that they had in mind earlier, and have Michael B. Jordan come back to play Val Zod. And if this idea of a Black Supergirl bothers them, either they deal with it or just course correct on the ethnicity, for Pete's sake. Yeah, it's such a totalitarian curse we're dealing with, folks, but do not give up the fights. Keep on fighting back against the machines, especially the most totalitarian ones. Good luck. Oh, and one more thing. Corey from Double Toasted, and along with Jody's Corner, from Jody himself, and to others who want Brainiac but are not willing to call out Warner Brothers for their meddling and for not bothering to do so, do so. Stop thinking about your fucking selves and your stupid pride for once. Stop thinking about holding on to your goddamn early movie access passes. Call them out. Ask them, why won't you give us a live-action Superman movie with Brainiac and other villains like Metallo in it? Stop defending Warner Brothers. Stop defending David Zaslav. Stop defending those who are constantly going to keep ripping us off with the same stuff over and over again. Please call them out. And to those of you who are watching me right now in this video, make sure you get over to Double Toasted and Jody's Corner to pressure those bastards into calling out Warner Brothers for not giving us live action Superman versus Brainiac. Because if they want Brainiac, start fighting for it. Not keep defending what's standing in the way of it. And that is Warner Brothers. Don't just blame the people they hire. Blame the executives and their shareholders. They're the ones who are responsible for everything. There. Oh yeah. Pardon me for keeping this video going, but also to the studios that if you do heed our request of what we want for a live-action Superman movie with Brainiac and Silver Banshee in it, like Man of Steel 2, not only are you to get the casting done right on who we want, but also make sure you use actual costumes and prosthetics and makeup for the cast to look like the characters too, and not just with CGI and AI alone, because we want to make sure you're not using it to commit to deceptive marketing fraud either, because really it's something that people do not want to put up with forever and ever. And we ought to make sure. And besides, we want to make sure that even if we do get everything we need to make this kind of movie happen, we would also need to make sure that it gets filmed in locations that are not so expensive too. No need to go filming in Norway or any expensive place just to keep on doing the Fortress of Solitude at its iconic locations. I'm sure we've all understand now to why Zack had Zod bring the Fortress of Solitude to Metropolis in Man of Steel, and had it left there for the remainder of the Snyderverse as well. So remember what we need. Villains who are long overdue for live-action movie representations like Brainiac and Silver Banshee, and with Superman and Supergirl in it to fight them and have it done comic accurately. But also, make sure Silver Banshee is an anti-hero as well, as her being the former wife of Jimmy Olsen as well. Because really, we gotta move on from things too. Not just inspirations of Richard Donner, but the characters that we've been getting since Richard Donner. And I know Jimmy Olsen's popular, but we can't let his death be an excuse to keep regressing all the time. Besides, thanks to some of these woke writers in the comic industry, they may have actually given us a great idea on how to move on without him. And Silver Banshee is the key. Making her start off by seeking revenge on Superman, Supergirl, and Lois for the death of her fiancé-husband, but later having her team up with them to stop Brainiac for redemption, and maybe have a return for more live-action films after Man of Steel 2 live-action, probably with Black Adam. That could work out. But remember, Man of Steel 2 featuring Superman, Supergirl, Brainiac, and Silver Banshee is to be done in live action. And if there's much that needs to be done to ensure we get that, bring it. One more thing. While they are to make sure to bring Brainiac to life the same way they did in Krypton for Man of Steel 2, for Superman to team, and of course, pardon me, pardon me. Now, as I said, while they are if we do get Man of Steel 2 revived as a live-action movie, or at least any live-action movie that has Superman and Supergirl in live action teaming up for the first time against Brainiac and other villains like Silver, Banshee, Metallo, and heck, even Cyborg, Superman, and Radiator. Not only would we expect them to invest enough of a large enough budget for their project so they don't keep backing out, but also to make sure we do get the Skull Ship and other characters while making sure that the casting is done correctly and not out of ego-driven political correctness of pissing people off for fun and games and constant controversy. They're also going to need to film the scenes of Brainiac being inside his ship. The same ship you see behind Superman in this AR fan art right here. They're going to need to film it in a location that is not so expensive as California or other places in America that are right now making Gunn's movies so expensive. And I'm pretty grateful of what and it's another reason why I suggest we make this happen for the live-action Man of Steel sequel. Because also, you wouldn't be making it so goddamn difficult of getting him and his abilities onto the big screen comic accurately. We want him done comic accurately. Along with Silver Banshee and more. As well as bringing Martian Manhunter back. So, there. That's my video. Take care. And keep fighting. We can't give up. Peace out, my fellow Snyder fans. One last thing. If whatever Gunn's got to offer has anything to do with Zazov or what he feels like pitching, that's my signal to them. Believe me, the studios need to stop ripping us up with the same garbage we keep getting. They have got to start giving us Brainiac, for God's sake, in the live-action Superman movies. Plus, what we've been getting, what we are about to get it's definitely going to be a frickin' waste of time. We want Brainiac as a villain for a live-action Superman movie, not Lex Luthor and General Zod all the time. Remember that, folks. And these new directors, they need to stop. And the studios need to stop making it so difficult to bring Brainiac to life on the big screen, as well as others like Silver, Banshee, and Metallo. And they need to bring Supergirl in to team up with Superman against these villains in live-action movies, too. So remember it, folks. Hashtag Restore the Snyderverse. Hashtag Sell Snyderverse to Netflix. Hashtag Make Man of Steel 2 with Brainiac in live action. Hashtag Bring Back Henry and Sasha. Hashtag Make Justice League 2 and 3 in live action. Hashtag Sell the Snyderverse to Netflix in live action format.